Hello friends, two important economic news stories from sunny Poland have caught my attention. Experts are predicting a systemic slowdown in GDP and a drop in investments, while the Ministry of Labor is trying to set the minimum wage at almost 5,000 zlotys. Why are the trade unions demanding more? And what will this ministerial wrangling lead to in the midst of a crisis? Let's figure it out now. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, friends, and hit the bell right now. Now, let's get down to business. By the way, let me remind you that the best money transfer service is transfer.go. The link is in the description. Send money to Ukraine and support your family and loved ones if you have the opportunity and desire. Now, let's get down to business. We are witnessing a major economic drama unfold. It's June 2026, thank God, and the Polish government, together with leading analysts, have gotten deeply tangled up in planning salaries, pensions, and budgets. The latest reports have brought us a powerful array of data, from the forecast of that organization I've already mentioned, the EFC, the European Financial Congress, to the specific plans of the Ministry of Labor. If we set aside all the pre-election reports, a harsh consensus emerges from the authoritative report of 56 leading Polish economists. The era of rapid and dynamic growth of the Polish economy is officially over. Its engines haven't stalled, but they've reached their limits. Individual gears can no longer increase their power. Poland's locomotive is beginning to gently but steadily apply the brakes. Let's combine all these stubborn facts, ministerial appetites, and real numbers to understand, for us ordinary people, how the upcoming slowdown will hit our wallets in the coming years. So the first part of our video is the Economist's diagnosis. The best years are behind us. The main conclusion of the experts is inescapable. Each following year for Poland will be systematically weaker than the previous one. If last year the country ended with a GDP growth of 3.6%, which is strong, the forecast for the current year has been adjusted to 3.53%. And it gets worse. In 2027, growth will drop to 2.99%. In 2028 to 2.85%, and in 2029 it will slip to 2.63%. And this, comrades, mind you, is under the ideal scenario, if the world doesn't get hit by another global crisis or something even worse. Some nuclear missiles might fly. So well, back to the economy. Where did the Poles' former drive go? There are two deep structural factors at play here. The demographic slump. The country simply has fewer workers. And when there's no one to work, expanding production and increasing GDP becomes physically very, very difficult. Second, the investment slump. This year shows a strong investment surge due to old programs. These are the remnants of old programs, so there was growth of about 8.21%. But by 2029, the investment growth rate will drop to 3.28%, that is 3 times less. Polish companies still haven't become creators of unique innovations. They remain just convenient contractors for large international groups, giving the lion's share of high margins to the parent companies, like in Ireland, Germany, and so on. For the average person, this means that there won't be a prolonged decline or catastrophe, of course. On average, the standard of living will continue to rise only marginally, but these increases will become tiny. People will develop a lasting sense that the country is completely stuck in place. This is a forecast from the Polish press, by the way. Yes, now you'll say, enemy of Poland, give up your passport. Yes, by the way, you can also write, bold guy, why aren't you at the front? The growth rate of consumption will inevitably fall from 3.26 to 2.58. At the same time, EKF analysts are giving a surprisingly mild inflation forecast, expecting it to return to the NBP's target of 2.5%. However, the report coordinator, Dr. Marcin Mrowiec, honestly warns, the experts may be looking at the world too optimistically. And let's not forget about the powder keg in the Middle East and the possible blockade of the Hormuz Strait. They are already generating strong inflationary pressures in global logistics. If supply chains break, prices in Polish stores will rise again, despite all the forecasts on paper. Friends, write in the comments whether you feel that life has somehow changed or if everything is great for you. I wish everything would be perfect for you, but reality, of course, is different. Please write in the comments. So here's part 2. The Ministry of Labor and the carve-up over the minimum wage for 2027. While academic minds argue about the trajectory of the slowdown, in the meeting rooms of the Council of Ministers, they've moved on to the actual carve-up of the money, or дележ, as it's correctly said in Russian. The Ministry of Family, Labour and Social Policy has prepared official recommendations on the minimum wage and hourly rate for 2027. And these figures clearly reflect the overall cooling of the economy. Officials propose to approve the following parameters: a minimum wage of 4,986 zlotys gross per month. Currently it's 4,806. The nominal increase will be a modest 180 zlotys or 3.5%. The minimum hourly rate will be 32.6 gross. That's an increase of just 1.2 zlotys. Yes, so that's also about 3.8%. The current rate is 31.4, but that's gross, of course. No, it's a bit more modest. The agency has strictly tied these figures to a mathematical rule. The minimum wage should be exactly half of the projected average salary in the country, which by 2027 is planned to be 9,971 zlotys. Well, 9,971 zlotys is a good salary. Notice how this matches the previous report. Experts predict that the growth of average salaries in the country will steadily slow down. From 6 Well, in short, it will gradually slow down. At the same time, the government is laying out the formula for indexing pensions and benefits for the year 2027. They want to set it at the level of 20% of the real growth of average salaries. To understand the scale of the problem, right now, the minimum pension in Poland is 1,978 zlotys gross. So, after deductions, that's about 1,500 or 1,600, something like that. And for millions of elderly people, this is a matter of physical survival, especially against the backdrop of rising utility rates. I'll tell you, the apartment I had in Belsk, I still have it. The maintenance fee there is 1,350 zlotys. And that's even though basically no one really lives there. People just drop by occasionally, no one uses the electricity or water. 1,300, yes, it's a big apartment. 1,350. But damn, that's one person's pension. So if an elderly couple live together and have a big apartment, so basically one pension goes to food and whatever medicine they can afford, and the other goes to utilities. There you go. Well, as for the controversial points, it's unions versus business. Of course, approving these figures is the arena for tough discussions between workers' representatives, business, and the government. There's less than a week left until June 15. The government sends its calculations to the Social Dialogue Council, giving parties 30 days to reach a compromise. The participants' positions are diametrically opposed. On the union side, the biggest organizations presented a united front. And they say, actually, the minimum wage should not be lower than 5,200 zlotys gross. And they reasonably state that the ministerial handout of 180 zlotys is not able to protect people's standard of living in the face of the real increase in the cost of living. The employer's position. The Association of Entrepreneurs demands that the government show firmness and not inflate company costs, and stick to the strict limits of the law. That's how capitalists are. They won't give workers anything. Amid falling European demand, businesses think sharp wage hikes will trigger small business closures and higher unemployment. If the parties do not reach an agreement within a month, the government will unilaterally approve its initial figures by September 15th. Well, friends, that's the economic news from the Polish fronts. And look, I'm reading the Polish press. Please don't write, though you'll probably write it anyway, "Are you an enemy of Poland? Give up your passport." Yes, because I've been getting that a lot lately, but it's no big deal. Here's the conclusion we can draw. We're looking at a classic example of how a state runs into the objective dead ends of its economic model. Poland's debt trajectory is rapidly going up. Public finances are overstretched. And the partners in the common European market are mired in deep stagnation. They are ordering fewer Polish goods made in the sunny, beautiful country. The situation requires a tough surgical operation. Financiers openly talk about the need for budget consolidation, that is simultaneously raising taxes and cutting expenses. But another election campaign is looming, almost around the corner. And in the context of an election race, well, no politician would dare to step up to the podium and honestly say, "Friends, comrades, brothers, sisters, the good times are over. The best years are behind us. It's time to tighten our belts." Because people will respond, "What do you mean? We haven't even started living yet. How much tighter can we go?" As a result, the Ministry of Labor is trying to strike a balance, not to upset businesses too much with a modest minimum wage increase of just 3 to 7%, and to show the electorate a nice figure. Yes, 5,000, come on, just go to work, what's the problem? But you can't fool the laws of economics. If the decline in investment and the demographic crisis continue, the system will still have to make painful decisions. But they'll only do that after the country is already speeding ahead. Alright, I don't want to make bold predictions. The article says something like, the country will head full speed toward a financial wall. No, that's not going to happen. It's too big of an economy, and it's not that easy to, let's say, break it or destroy it. So friends, that's the news. Write in the comments what salary you think is reasonable by today's standards in sunny Poland. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. See you next time.